Good evening, everybody. Thank you for joining me. This is Ian Blackburn, and we're excited to talk rosé this evening with you. And we got some more people coming on board right now. Just trying to get everybody on. I'll have to keep an eye on that. Make sure that everyone's getting on board okay. But welcome, everybody. Thank you for joining me. Hi, Andrew. We'll be with you in just a moment. And Natalie, everything work out? We got your wine this week. All right, good.
Yes, we're all good to go.
Excellent. We've got folks all over the country joining us on this occasion to talk rosé. We've got some fantastic examples. Excited to do this with you all this evening. Just a couple more people expected here. We'll be starting in just a second. All right, let's hope they can figure that out. And here we go. So this is my first week back after a fantastic trip to Italy, and got to learn a lot about Sicily and travel the island of Sicily. If any of you ever want to go, now I have some great recommendations for you, and had some amazing experiences with some great brands. I'll be increasing our Sicilian wine selections accordingly. Always looking for some great things to turn people on to. And we've got a Zoom coming up very soon, which will feature a number of wines that I was able to visit and some things I was able to procure recently. So be on the Zoom into Wine calendar and take a look at some of the great activities that we are putting together. Some really ambitious projects. And we'll continue that throughout the entire year, every Wednesday night right here at 7 o'clock, Zoom into Wine. Once a month, we create a little more special effort where we get a lot of talent involved. And this month we are doing it with Rosé, and we've got some great individuals joining us to teach us about their products. And I want to get right into the slideshow and right into wine number one and get tasting something special. So here we go. We're going to be talking tonight with my friend Hiram Simon. He is the owner partner at WineWise, and he imports a lot of very cool, I would say, slightly geeky, fun, teeny producers of Europe. And this is one of them. And let's get right into it and let Hiram tell us all about our first rosé number one.
It's my great pleasure to introduce you to Hiram Simon. He is the founder of WineWise and a provider of many great wines to my store. And Hiram, thank you for making time for us today.
It's my pleasure, and thank you for inviting me.
We asked you to join us because our first wine tonight is from Germany, and it is not necessarily the first place you think of for a world-class rosé, but I will say that everyone we've sold this wine to has been super impressed. And I really wanted to get your take on this wine, and I've got a little PowerPoint for us to go into. Let me open that up. Take a look at this bottle that we're tasting. It's a beautiful, tall bottle, and it just evokes a mood and it actually stimulates my taste buds immediately because I'm already expecting this brilliant, fresh acidity that you're going to get in Baden. And tell us about this wine, Hiram.
Well,
first, can you start with how do I pronounce it?
Oh, let's leave the full. If you want me to read out the whole name of the wine, it's Weingut Freiherr von Gleichenstein, Pinot Noir Rosé Trocken, Baden. The family's somewhat proud of their aristocratic background, and more importantly, they've been proprietors of this estate since 1634.
Oh, wow.
The part of 400 years. The current proprietors, Johann Johannes and his wife Chrissy are the 11th generation. Baden is a really misunderstood region. There are vineyards on the shores of which are in this dark turquoise color, and each individual sector of Baden really produces wines that is quite distinct from those produced in the next one.
Here's a picture of our, kind of take you into what it feels like to be in this area, the small village at the plateau at the bottom of the hills, and the vineyards planted. It looks like even many of them are terraced.
Yes, in fact, von Gleichenstein has holdings in 3 principal classed vineyards in this area. They're in the village of Oberrotweil, which is the largest of 5 villages within the what you might call the canton, or the Germans have a lovely word for it, which is Kreuz of Vogtsburg.
And so, as you were saying, this brand has been, or this vineyard has been around since the 1500s?
Well, the estates, the history of the estate actually stretches back to the late 15th century, and there are maybe even earlier of this grape variety in this country and in this region.
And you can tell that there's some history here in the cellar.
An old building.
Old building.
It's a great solace that this wine palpably improves in the bottle, to the point where even at 5, 6, 7 years of age, it can be an absolutely delicious drink.
I think that's a fantastic place for me to interrupt, because almost all the wines that we're going to drink in this particular show tonight will really be, you're tasting them in a youthful state. But I will say that we tend to think of rosé as something that has to be drank fresh. And I think that's wrong. And I'll just put it that abruptly. And this is our couple here, the owners.
That's Johannes is on the right, our right as we look at the picture. He's the von Gleichenstein, and that is his wife, Chrissy.
We're getting into the actual glass here, and I think you have a glass with you.
I took the precaution, if that's the right word, of pouring myself a slug to remind myself of it. The color we're looking at, this, I think, very pretty, very pale coral color. This is its natural hue that results from the 5, 6 hours of pressing that the wine undergoes.
And you said spend some time on lees, then bottled, and then released probably within the same 12-month period.
Yes, but not rushed to market in January and February, which has become the very regrettable norm for an awful lot of producers who are just trying to cash in on the as fresh as possible rosés each year. I think it's one of the most negative evolutions in the modern wine market. This obsession with youth and extreme freshness.
Well, I'm going to let our consumers, our viewers tonight, taste the wine now and comment. I thank you very much for your time and education, and also your pronunciation.
My pleasure. Thanks again for including us in this show, and I do hope that everybody enjoys the wine very much indeed.
Very well spoken, Hiram Simon. Wonderful guest, and very involved in the wines that he imports. A couple of tasting notes here. The glass shows salmon colored nuances with silver reflections on the nose. The spring and summer companion offers berry notes. I think you can almost feel, after you've tasted this wine, the energy kind of brightening up and freshening up your palate, almost leaving kind of that acidic scar, if you will, of biting into a piece of citrus. And it's really a bright, tangy wine that stimulates your appetite, cleans things up, and for less than $20, it's a hell of a deal. And I think this wine ages beautifully for 2, 3, 4 years. Might just continue to get a little bit richer and rounder, but the brightness and the acidity here, and also that Stelvin closure, which is exactly what you want to keep this style right in check. Before we move into our second wine, I just want to see if there's anyone that wants to comment on the first wine. And hi, Erica. It's wonderful to see you again. I think I don't actually see you. I see your comment, but
yeah, it's nice to see you too. I'm eating, so I didn't want to be on camera eating.
very good, very good. Are you eating something delicious?
I am shrimp fried rice.
Excellent. Well, I'll look forward to seeing your beautiful face in a little bit then. Enjoy your dinner. Any comments on that first wine? Anyone like to just come out and talk about it? How does it leave you feel? Is it hit you in the right spot? Is it too acidic? Is it too harsh? Love to know. Natalie, can you save me?
Sure. Oh, I love it. It's very refreshing. Yeah, the berry really speaks out. I at first when I first tried it, it almost seemed maybe like it had a little bit of effervescence or something to it, right? It just kind of tingles a little on your tongue. It's great. Just the right amount of salinity. Really nice. I'm surprised. Really nice rosé from Germany.
Yeah, I think it's kind of the wine that you almost have to taste, see, and to believe it. That's why I picked it for tonight's program, and hope you guys enjoy it very much. We've sold quite a bit of it, but it's a wine that we could sell a lot more of, and at its price point, kind of deserves to fly off the shelf a little bit. So, with that, I'm super excited to have our next guest live here with us. So let me introduce Andrew Major and put him live on the screen, spotlighted for everybody. Wow, that's a great Zoom background, buddy. That's very professional. How you doing?
I'm good, man. It's good to hear from you. I want to hear all about Sicily. I was there last summer.
Awesome.
Compare notes and visits.
Yeah, we'll have to do that for sure. We've got a couple of new wines from you in our store from Sicily as well. Andrew works for Kermit Lynch, and he's also a winemaker and has great perspective on the world of wine. I respect his opinion quite a bit and his expertise. And of course, the wines at Kermit Lynch are, there's sometimes where you might just turn over the bottle and see who the importer is to see if it's maybe something more compelling. And I absolutely think that's the way you should go when you're looking at a wine from Kermit Lynch, that he could probably import any brand that he wanted to, because he does such a good job. And so the wines that he has are pretty special. So we're going to start off, Andrew, tonight. We got 2 wines from the Kermit Lynch portfolio, and we're going to start off in Corsica, or Corse, as it might be called. And I'll get into the PowerPoint and have you tell us about Giacometti.
Great. Well, yeah. So welcome everybody. Thanks for having me. Like Ian said, I work for Kermit Lynch. They're based in Berkeley, California. We're now celebrating our 50th anniversary. Started as a tiny little wine shop there in downtown Berkeley, and eventually grew to become a distributor and importer, and now we're in all 50 states across the country. And so, yeah, he's really largely responsible for putting Corsican wines on the map. And this is one of the benchmark producers in Corsica. But this is a family, Giacometti, Christian Giacometti, started up this winery back in 1987, took over some vines that were planted in 66. They're up in the Patrimonio AOP, which is probably the most famous and known of Corsica, right up there in that blue area. And it's very rugged, very deserty. In fact, the wine is called Cru d'Agrate, which is the desert that they're located in. And it's really difficult to grow grapes up there. And they spent about 30 years really struggling to get the grapes to go deep, deep down into the soil. They want to stay up at the top where you've got all the ocean spray and lots of healthy things going on. But they had to spend a lot of time getting those vines trained to go deeper and deeper. They're organically farmed, so there's no herbicides, pesticides, or any chemicals being sprayed on this vineyard. What's kind of cool about this place is that they're technically outside of the patrimonial DOC or AOP. Sorry, I'm getting mixed with Italy. And they're so beloved there that they actually drew them into the patrimonial AOP. There's no town out here. It's so off the grid. You've got to take a 4x4 to get out there and then off-road it until you get to their winery. The nearest place is like a hamlet of 12 people. So we're pretty far out there. Yeah, this Rosé is 90% Neoluccio, which is also known as Sangiovese. There's a lot of scientific debate over whether they are the same grape or a clone of one another. There's debate as to whether it came from Tuscany and moved over to Corsica by way of Genoa or vice versa. And then the other grape in this is Sciacarello, which is the other important grape in Corsica. It's a direct press wine, meaning they pick these grapes and press them intentionally to be a rosé on its own. They're not bleeding the juice off of another red wine. And yeah, I think to me, I'm really proud that Ian picked this wine because we have a lot of rosés, and I think this last year, this rosé was my favorite of the year.
I always like the personality of the Corsican wines. They have that island character, you know, a little salty sea air, that real vibrant minerality, but also some really good sun penetration. So you get that ripeness that you know, that equator close sunshine can create. You get that in Sicily, you get that in Corsica, you get that in all the islands there in the Mediterranean. But and then you just get a little kind of a flair here because it is a French island that you know, has kind of a little more of a French personality to the winemaking. And this is direct to press, you said?
Yep.
No wood, just stainless steel.
Yep. Spends about 5 months in stainless steel tank, and then it's bottled.
This looks like it might be the family here.
Yep. Yeah. So that's Christian, the guy in the hat, and then his son and daughter are starting to take over the winery for him as he gets a little bit closer to retirement. So yeah, I mean, I'm with you. To me, it's like, even if you don't know a lot about Corsican wines, all the wines that come from there just taste like island wine. You're kind of transported to somewhere else that's just happy, and you're drinking vacation in my mind, just some island out there. It's real nice.
It has a very different mouthfeel to the prior. You might need to take a second sip to kind of adjust your palate, because that first wine was just drilling with acidity. I mean, literally left your mouth feeling like you just sucked on a piece of citrus skin. And now you get a little bit more. I mean, it's hard to imagine me being able to say this, but this is actually a little softer, a little rounder, because this is typically thought of as pretty crispy. Yeah. Erica, I'm enjoying this. The ripeness definitely shows. The tasting hints, floral berries and orange tangerine type zest. Yeah, it's got kind of a like an orange peel, orange zest.
Yeah.
You know, and then but you can go from an array of different things here. Cranberry. I mean, that's what's great about rosé, is it really you can almost address it in the glass like a red wine, but it performs with food like a white wine.
Yes, exactly.
And I made a quick point in the prior wine talking about the ageability, Of course, I'm talking about better efforts like what we're showing tonight. If you go to the store and buy a $5, $6, $7 rosé, especially something that's grown in California, I mean, I love my California wines, but those get really pretty ripe, and they are almost forced to pick so early, almost prematurely early, where there isn't enough ripeness and flavor. So all you're getting is this kind of underripeness in the wine. Whereas in these colder climates with lots of wind and the style in which they're picking and growing these grapes, they're growing these grapes to be rosé. They're not growing Syrah and picking it early or bleeding it off, called Senier, to create this. They're really actually making, a really concerted effort to make world-class rosé. And these wines will age very nicely for the next 3, 4, 5 years. And they will change a little bit. They will get a little darker. They will get a little less crunchy. But you might actually prefer them in a year. 2021, this wine's beautiful right now. It's fresh. This is the, pretty much going to be the current vintage until the 22s probably come in towards the end of the year.
Probably closer to like late summer.
Late summer, yeah. So this is the current vintage for you could definitely feel comfortable pulling this out in a year or two and knowing that you're still on top of things. And in fact, I think you're going to like this wine even better next year, same time, same place.
That's always what happens for those of us who are selling wine. The wine comes in and you get it out and you're pouring for people and people are buying it. And it's good and or whatever. And then a year later, when the new vintage is coming out, suddenly you get this another bump in sales because suddenly it's had a year in bottle and people haven't tasted it for a while. And folks actually want to settle on the previous year's vintage instead of the brand new one, because exactly that. It's now had this extra year of aging. It's a huge, huge plus, especially in rosé. Needs a little time to stretch its legs.
Now, we bought this wine at a very advantageous price. You would probably normally pay in the high 20s to $30 a bottle for this wine. I think, if you don't mind me saying this, Andrew, the rosé world is changing, and the competition, each year there were more and more rosé wines coming on the marketplace. As demand was spiking, everyone woke up and said, hey, we need to make rosé. Well, all of a sudden you get to a point where demand is kind of spiked. Everyone during the pandemic maybe drank a bottle of rosé every day for 2 years, and maybe has moved rosé more into like a rosé all day type of a mindset to, hey, rosé when it's a nice day on the boat, or a rosé when we're going to the beach or around the pool, and kind of put it back into its place. And so we're in a marketplace where we've got an unbelievable amount of rosé available, and the competition is going to be fierce. And you've seen some pencil sharpening in rosé where all their costs went skyrocketing, and yet the demand for the product has come down and the pricing has had to kind of sharpen up a little bit. So everyone's working really hard in the rosé world to get this wine all the way from Corsica to me, and for us to put it on the website for less than $20 is unbelievable. And so this is a really good deal. And I haven't looked at Wine Searcher, but I can't imagine anyone being less than us. And in fact, you might be telling me we're too low, Andrew. So I will respect that. But we did buy it at a really advantageous moment, and we own a good amount of it. And I'm going to be selling this wine for a while, and I would love to have this wine for a while. It's fine. It's great. And the price point we have is, I'm probably sending more of this wine out of state than I am here in California at this point. And so when California wakes up and sees that we have this great price on, as the warm months are here, I'm sure it's going to take off. APV on this wine, what do you think that is there, Andrew? I don't have the bottle in front of me at this point.
I'm guessing around 12-ish. I don't have the bottle either, but that's what I sort of recall. I'm going to see if I can find it next.
Maybe. Yeah, it's definitely got that European, sensibility, that lower alcohol, higher acidity, and super crispy. So you can see that on our website. And like I said, we have a very strong supply. You like it today, come back and buy it one bottle at a time for a while. We'll be in stock.
Yeah, the ABV is 12.5.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. We'll talk to you in just a minute about our second rosé with you. And I don't think you're next. So we'll talk to you in just a minute there, buddy. All right. Fantastic. We've tasted two awesome rosés, one from Germany, one from Corsica. Now we're going to go to a classic wine region in the south of France, to a brand you may have heard of before. And Andrew, I'll take the pressure off and release your screen spotlight. Thank you, sir. We're now sharing the screen with Domaine Haute, and I got to have a Zoom with Christophe Renard, but I was in Europe and we had a hard time timing our speaking on the recording, or kind of stepping on each other. So I let him, he got the questions and he kind of responded in a video. So let's see how this goes.
Learn more about wine, learn more about Rosé. Yes, I'm Christophe, the brand ambassador of LearnAboutWine. I've been working for the Haute family for 27 years now, and I'm happy today to share with you my passion for LearnAboutWine. So Haute is a family business. Marcel Haute, the founder of our vineyards, moved from Alsace to Provence in 1996. He was the very first winemaker to consider rosé wine like high premium wine. So this is 4th generation today. It's still a family business. Our family managed the vineyard, and Jean-François is the general manager of our 3 vineyards. Because it's one family, but 3 different vineyards located in the Côte de Provence appellation and in Bandol. So we are located on the French Riviera, which is key of the success of the LearnAboutWine also. We are located just close where everybody wants to do some vacation. Château de Sel is the first estate that the family bought in 1912. Château de Sel is the last house from Comte de Provence from the 18th century. An amazing vineyards, and we have a Château de Sel just in front of the old castle, an amazing new state-of-the-art wine cellar. The second vineyard that the family owns is Clos Mireille. The family started to manage this vineyard in the 20s. They bought Clos Mireille in 1936, and they started here a production of white and then some rosé wine. It's amazing vineyards overlooking the sea, as you can notice on this slide. 2 vineyards in the Côte de Provence appellation, Château de Sel and Clos Mireille, and then the family owned Château Commerçant in the Bandol appellation. The family bought this vineyard in 1956. So we have a unique position in Provence. 2 vineyards located in the Côte de Provence appellation, 1 vineyard located in Bandol. We're going to focus today together with Clos Mireille, as you can test. Clos Mireille Rosé. 400 acres. This vineyard is amazing. It's as big as the country of Monaco, dedicated to the wine business. We have 2 nice entrance on the sea, as you can notice. And of course, the proximity of the sea is very important for the tasting of the wine. The wind is coming from the sea and spread the salt onto the vineyard. The terroir is very specific to Clos Mireille. Because we are just close to the sea, we have a lot of fish, of course, and a lot of food. So the location is amazing. And because of the proximity of the sea, you're gonna have inside the tasting of the wine a little bit of iodine, saltiness. Mireille is a crustacea from Provence. Mireille is a Côte de Provence wine. As far as Côte de Provence is concerned, we produce our Rosé mostly with Grenache. Mireille Rosé is 70% of Grenache, also some also Grenache with some color, and we have maximum 2 hours skin contact. That's the reason we have a very brilliant color. Fresh and fruity, rosé wine, and very generous. Maximum 2 hours skin contact, pre-fermentation, vinification in stainless steel to keep the purity of the fruit. We do not do any malolactic fermentation with our rosé wine. These pictures, they love it. The first exportation of the Hot family in New York in 1938. Name Hot is really famous in the States. So thank you for your time. I hope you will enjoy the tasting of the whole thing you made up. I see you next time.
There we go. And we did try to do that at like 7 in the morning if it sounded like he was trying to be quiet because his family was asleep in the next room. But Domaine Hot, historic, the acquisition of these key sites makes the brand very special. This bottle also iconic, and it is developed by an artist who, when you turn the bottle on its side, it's the exposition that you see down to the ocean sloping down the side of the bottle. And that's where Domaine Hot gets its bottle shape. So a really special producer, top quality, and on the higher end of the spectrum of rosé, but absolutely the wine you want to be seen drinking as you're waiting to attend the Cannes Film Festival in the south of France, or maybe you're sitting in some showboat location or poolside in Vegas, have your Domaine Hot. You're about $60 a bottle retail, and this product just continues to take ground. It is the classic Provence producer, and when you list the top producers of Provence, you'd be remiss to not list Domaine Hot at the very top as far from a quality standpoint. Really a lot of things working in their favor. Their amazing vineyard holdings, their size of their estate, their worldwide distribution. They're owned and or distributed by the family that owns Roederer Champagne, and so they have a very strong wheel of sales and marketing. And I hope you guys like this wine. Let me know what you're thinking about it. I see some additional comments. Lots of sea spray and minerality. Love that, Natalie. Thank you. Erica, the Grenache is definitely strong. Makes it feel more like a white than a common rosé. Cool. Yeah, this is so gentle. I think if you had blinders on and you were tasting it nice and cool and cold, you would definitely think that this is a white wine. And you know, like I said, I think rosés kind of get to play in both worlds. They have some added kind of features that let them age a little bit like a red, and maybe even smell. Some of the aromatics can even give you the perception of red wine, whereas their food pairability is so nice with white wine type of food and dishes and seafood and all types of things. Definitely a beautiful bottle. I think we answered the APV question, where again here between 12.5 and 13% with Domaine Haute. Now we bring Andrew back because at Kermit Lynch, like I said, they have some really important brands, and I think, you know, we'll talk with Andrew here, but this is Bandol is kind of the wine geeks region. I've used that term twice tonight, so I'll try not to do it a third time, but it is kind of like a place where there's some history, some reverence for wine culture, for particular mentality in wine. Patience is a virtue when it comes to regions like Bandol, and especially Domaine de Terrebrune in Bandol. And Andrew, let's share some thoughts here. What do you think of the category?
I mean, it's great. It's a special little area of Provence. It's right in the middle. And it's on the section where, yeah, down there at the bottom of Toulon, where it just sticks right out, pretty far out into the Mediterranean. So it has some advantages, a leg up on other regions, because it is it gets more of a coastal influence, more of a sea breeze. It's cooler climate, gets a lot of sunshine, along with that cool, cold air. So it can hang on the vines for a lot longer without getting super ripe, and it can develop pretty well. It was put on the map by another producer of ours, Domaine Tempier, which is a pretty sought after, considered one of the best rosés in the world. And they've been making wine since the 40s. When they created the Bandol AOC. And then this was started by a guy named Georges Delisle, and he started it up he bought these vineyards in 1963, and then spent about 10 years cultivating and turning them into vineyards and putting them into shape where they could actually like grow and make wine from it. And then eventually his son, Reynald, who you saw at the first slide, joined him in 1980. And that's when they were selling off all their grapes to area winemakers. And in 80, they started making Terrebrune, which means brown earth. So it's sort of the name of it's sort of homage to the rich brown soils in the area. It's mostly it's very dark kind of clay, but underneath is very heavy limestone, which also gives them a big advantage in terms of the quality. There they are, the band of wine growers. Yeah, so they were actually consulted by and shepherded by Lucien Peyrade, who's the woman matriarch behind Domaine Tempier. So, and they're pretty close by. So they sort of lended them in hand and copied a lot of they've been farming organically for a long, long time. Almost all the rosés are going to be Mourvèdre dominant. This is 50% Mourvèdre, 25% Grenache, and then 25% Cinsault. This is 50% Saunier, which Ian mentioned earlier, is when you're bleeding off juice. So like they're bringing in the Mourvèdre, and those grapes get into the tank, and all the water and juice that just kind of naturally comes out of it is pink. It hasn't had enough time to sit in the grape skins to turn red. So that's part of the rosé, and then the other half are grapes that are actually pressed to be this wine. And you know, Bandol, what makes them unique is Bandol wines can age for a long time. The Terrebrune rosé can age up to 20 years. And there are others like Tempier and places that people have opened bottles that are 40, 50 years old, and they're still drinking well.
Very good. 50% Mourvèdre, 25 Grenache, 25 Cinsault. And we talked about a little difference in the winemaking here, where we got a blend of both Signé and is it Signé and direct to press, or Signé?
Yeah, 50-50.
50-50. And then they also use those large foeders.
Yep.
Those big wood barrels, which are older wood, and they're not necessarily there to put wood aromas on the wine. They probably don't, because they've been around for so long. and there's so much wine to wood ratio that they don't get really oaky, but they do allow for evaporation. And so this wine, while it is a rosé, is made even more like a red wine than the prior rosés and carries more heft and therefore ageability. And these wines in Bandol are often looked to be drank with some pretty serious age on them. And in fact, you wouldn't be wrong to bring a 10-year-old Bandol rosé to my birthday party, October 15th. I'll be it is fun to taste these wines with some age. Now, I also will say this particular 2021 Terre Brune is much happier to be drank right now than some prior vintages that I visited. And I'm not sure how to attest for that or account for that. Because 21 was kind of a crazy vintage in parts of France, cold and wet, but maybe down in Bandol was pretty nice.
Yeah, Bandol is one of the few areas that did okay, and they again have this advantage of sticking out into the Mediterranean. So they're still getting a lot of sunlight, cool weather, like I was saying earlier, and that didn't change a whole lot when you're right there on the coast out there. So they had a very good long ripening season. So they were able to develop a little bit longer and a little better. And it was in that area. I mean, even though France overall in 2021 lost about 80% of their entire harvest, talking the entire country, what remained and what made it is actually pretty great. It's being considered a pretty great vintage for the 20% that that survived.
We're getting questions here. Is it 50 Mourvèdre, 25 Grenache, and 25 Cinsault, or is that air and that's supposed to be Carignan?
It's 25% Cinsault.
Okay. There
Why
you
is it written as Carignan?
go. I might have said something out there, but Shirley Peppers was calling us on that, and so Shirley, there's your answer. It is Cinsault.
And it's on your website. Like if you click on the purchase now link, then on the website it says it's Carignan.
There you go. We'll get that fixed. Boom.
Yeah, I mean, this is a great example of how serious and legit rosé can be. Same with Domainot.
Thank you for checking that, Miss Peppers. Thank you so much. My team works really hard on these wines and getting them up on the website, but we can make mistakes. And in fact, some of the wines that have been on the website for the longest, I'll go back and say, why do we still have that wine? I'll look and it's like, got the completely wrong description from the wrong place and the wrong grape and everything. So there's good reason. Good sense of humor, Shirley. Thank you. Thank you for presenting this so well, Andrew. Love this wine, and again, have a very good price on it. It'll age nicely. It's got a great color and wonderful presence right now, like I was saying, and a lot of positive comments here on the chat box there, Andrew, about this wine, and I'm really enjoying having it. So thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks for sharing it.
Cool. Well, we'll continue on, and thanks for all the great comments, everybody. I'm glad you're enjoying, and that's what makes doing these shows fun, and getting you guys together to talk about wine is really what this is all about, and pushes me as well, because I get to hear from you what you guys like and dislike, and maybe even correct a few tasting notes off the website. Let's go to our next wine. We have another very fantastic guest. We're going to be tasting Tablas Creek next, and we tasted this wine with Jason Haas prior. We had a small event we did a number of producers. So I purchased a large amount of this beautiful rarity from Tablas Creek, and told Jason I would definitely show this video again in a future occasion. And this is that moment for us to really engage this special brand, the special California producer, our first California producer today. Of course, they are from Paso Robles, and you know, and Paso's just about 4 hours away. We have a really cool invite on our website right now at LearnAboutWine.com. Paso's doing a very big wine fair for people, for guests to go up. I believe it's the weekend of the 21st. And so I'll be going up for the show, and maybe I'll see you there in Paso. Join me. Let's take a listen to one of my favorite producers, Tablas Creek.
We have come all the way to go to Paso Robles. I'm so excited. Jason Haas is on the Zoom with us. Jason, how are you?
I'm doing great. How are you, Ian?
I'm better now.
Love the hat, by the way. Grew up in New England.
Awesome.
Respect. We are one of the pioneers of the California Rhone movement. We're co-founded by two families. One of them is my family. My dad was Robert Haas, founded the import company Vineyard Brands, which represents Marcus de Caceres to this day, but has been working as an import company since the 1950s when my dad started it. One of the families that he became really close to through working as an importer was the Perrin family from Famille Perrin and Chateau de Beaucastel and Chateau Miraval in Provence. And they decided that California was going to be really fertile ground for a Rhone project, kind of a riff on Chateauneuf, and ended up spending 4 years looking for the right spot and buying this property that you see in this picture in Paso Robles in 1989. We then imported vine cuttings of all the principal varieties from Beaucastel. So we've got red grapes, a lot of the ones that you've been hearing about so far. So Mourvedre, Grenache, Syrah, Clunoise, Cinsault, and then whites also like Roussanne, Marsanne, Viognier, Grenache Blanc. And we brought in those vines for ourselves, but we also made them available to other growers. There's now something like 600 other vineyards and wineries up and down the West Coast who are doing what they're doing, at least in part, with clones that came from Tablas Creek. Can you hit the next slide?
Sure.
I think there's yeah, perfect. It's sort of where we are. So if you look within Paso Robles, we are pretty far west. We're in the Adelaida district, kind of the center of that Adelaida district, which is the westernmost appellation in Paso Robles. It gets moderate ocean influence in terms of cooling. The coolest parts of Paso are the southwest, like Templeton Gap. And then as you get further away from there, both north and east, it gets a little bit warmer. But when you're as far west as we are, you get a lot of rain. And that's one of the secrets of where we are. There's enough rainfall for us to farm without having to irrigate. And so that combination of enough rainfall to irrigate, a relatively warm climate, but cooled at night, and the limestone that's everywhere in those Santa Lucia mountains was really the three things that we were looking for. And it's been really fun to hear the conversations about Provence and about Bandol talking about the importance of those things, that diurnal cooling and the limestone soils. And one of the things that is a good just thing for people to remember is that in general, if you're planted in limestone-rich soils, so high calcium soils, you're going to be picking your grapes half a pH point lower than if you were not in those same soils, but in that same climate. And so that lower pH means more acid and more freshness, and is something to look for, I think, for a lot of grapes, but it's particularly great for rosés. So that's our tasting patio on the left, and one of our sections of vineyard. That's actually a section of rootstocks there on the right from some of the vines that we brought in. It's an autumn picture. So we are certified both organic and biodynamic, and we became a couple of years ago the first winery to be certified regenerative organic, which just means that in addition to not using chemicals for farming, we're also committed to a lot of the kind of business practices you might think of as being more like a B Corp, something where we're committed to animal welfare. We're committed to not just paying our farm workers a living wage, but investing in their skills, We're committed to reduction in use of resources. We're 100% solar powered. We're largely dry farmed. And we've worked to reduce our tillage. So now we're tilling hardly any of the vineyard in a normal year. And all of that is a way of using our vineyard to capture carbon out of the atmosphere and fix it into the soil. And that has lots of benefits in the resilience of the vines and the health of the soils. Anyway, this is our winemaking team led by Neil Collins in the center, who has been our winemaker of every vintage at Tablas Creek except for 1997 when he was working at Beaucastel. And that team there has a combined 56 years of experience in our cellar.
Wow. Great peeps too, man.
Okay, so let's talk about the Dianthus. This wine is sort of a hybrid between Bandol and Tavel. And one of the things that sets apart Bandol rosés is that they're based on Mourvèdre, which tends to give a little more body, a little more texture than Grenache rosés. It's also one of the reasons why they age so well. Mourvèdre is a grape which is incredibly resistant to oxidation. So just a little bit of Mourvèdre in a red blend will help it age a lot longer. And a wine based on Mourvèdre is going to give you double or triple the lifespan. So this is based kind of on the varietal blend you might find in a place like Bandol, but with a little more skin contact than you would normally see in Bandol. And that's where the kind of Tavel piece of this goes. So this wine gets about 24 hours on the skins. So unlike our other rosé, which is called the Patalan de Tablas Rosé, which is largely direct press, this does see some skin time because we want some bite to balance the natural richness and brightness of the fruit. Half of it is a lot that's dedicated to being this rosé. That's a co-fermented Mourvèdre Grenache Counoise lot. And then we supplement that with some saignés after 24 hours from Mourvèdre and Grenache around the cellar. So that's how we end up with this blend. It's always somewhere between 40 and 50% Mourvèdre, and then Grenache, Counoise, and just a touch of Sancerre to round it out.
Well, it's showing great. And what do you think about aging this wine? Is it something that you would encourage, or is it just like at the moment that we should be enjoying it over the next 2 to 3? What do you think?
I would do more of that. So I think aging it helps it to a point. I find this wine more expressive the second summer than I do the first summer when we first release it. And I feel like this wine has already relaxed a lot from when we released it. It was very tightly wound and mineral and fruit, but didn't have kind of a softness of texture that it does right now. And I think it's going to be great for another 18 months or so. And then I find that the fruit starts to go into the background. And it's still an interesting wine, but it's just doesn't have the kind of generosity of fruit that I look for in rosé. So I tend to say for this wine, like first 2.5 years is the sweet spot.
All right. Well, I know that you may not be able to stay around for the entire night, but we appreciate you being here tonight. You got a side gig running a champion winery, besides being a spokesperson for the wine industries in California. So thank you for being with us, Jason. It's such a treat.
Thanks, Ian, and thanks everybody for being a part of this. And cheers to the rosé revolution in America. I think it's one of the most hopeful signs for the American wine market in the last decade is that like dry rosé is something that people look forward to, and that's awesome.
That guy just absolutely spews confidence and competence, and I love listening to him speak about his wine. I learn from him every single time I've ever seen him. And if you've never been to Tablas Creek, there's always an adventure there that you could take part of. The tour, their grape growing philosophy, their use of animals in their vineyards, just so many great things. One time I went there and we did a seminar on grafting vines, and he taught me how to graft a vineyard and what they do to propagate their vineyard with grapevines. Just really cool. And I think now that this wine has had another year in bottle, it is absolutely showing off everything he just talked about, and has that wonderful position now in the glass. When we got involved with this particular offering, I knew this was a smaller production. It's only 900 cases. So I took a pretty gigantic swipe at it and we're down to our last couple cases, but then 2022 will be available to me very soon, if not already. So and we probably will just roll from one vintage into the next, but I have plenty of wine to sell for you folks if you enjoy this wine as much as I do. And I haven't had a chance to look at the chat or even make much noise here, except for that lavish mouthfeel, which I think is really showing off. And I love that almost watermelon type of color. And any comments from you guys about this one? What did you think about it?
We really enjoyed it. I remember enjoying it last year, and once again, it really delivers just a lot of body, and you can picture it pairing with a lot of delicious foods. Just really a pleasant wine.
Yeah, it's got a wonderful position right now, and I think that nose is really in a perfect spot as well, and really showcases what he was talking about with the pH of the soils and the Passerola's kind of dream that it delivers something very special and exotic inside of California. Well, we have yet one more great rosé to taste, and I am the presenter because our last producer is something I'm very proud to be able to present to you, but a pretty damn difficult, hard wine to get from one of the Napa Valley's kind of elite families. And that's the Maybach family. And you may know them from history as the automobile family. The Maybach cars are on the road today. But they own a working winery up in Napa Valley, and they're making some really, really beautiful wines with Thomas Rivers Brown as the winemaker. They have both Napa and Sonoma holdings, so most of the fruit for this particular wine is coming from Sonoma, and Sonoma is a little kinder and gentler with the sunshine factor and Pinot Noir, Chardonnay, and a number of other grape varieties growing a little closer to the ocean is a little more favorable. So you see that wonderful split that the Micomimus mountain range creates. And the Maybach family, they're pretty legendary going back in time to the 1920s, 1930s. But in the Napa Valley, they started making wines about 20 years ago, and they've been able to keep their productions pretty sacred and pretty special, near dear. They get some really big scores on their wines, and they have a really special set of holdings of vineyards, and of course one of the great winemakers, Thomas Rivers Brown. This one is 100% Pinot Noir. It is grown to be Pinot Noir. It is grown to be a rosé. It's Pinot Noir that's grown to be rosé. It is from some very special vineyard sites. They do not even make a rosé for the market, or I'm sorry, getting my words crossed. They do not make a Pinot Noir for the marketplace. They only make a Pinot Noir rosé. Now, they may make a little Pinot Noir that they sell through their wine club that I've never seen, but I'm pretty all over whatever wine allocations they provide. I buy them for my shop. I've been able to buy some rosé. I own some Cabernet. They've made some Chardonnay. They've made a 3-grape Bordeaux style blend. They get some huge scores for their wines. They're very dear, very hard to get. And I like to find wines that have, specialty to them. I like to find the stuff that has, the eye of the collector. I've got some Kongsgaard rosé that almost no one in the world got. This is kind of in that same league. And that's something I work very hard to be able to to attain. So if you want to try this wine with me, love to get your comments. This is a very small production. About 250 cases were made for the world. And so let's taste it, take a look at it. We started with Pinot tonight from Germany, and we're finishing with Pinot Noir from Sonoma Coast. It's obviously it's grown, like I said, to be rosé. So they're picking these grapes pretty early. They've got a lot of restraint here. You're looking at about 13% alcohol. There's a very soft, silky, gentle presentation of Pinot Noir here. If you want to pretend it's Pinot Noir, you can, but it does drink and act a lot like a white wine. And there's a little bit of that stemminess, a little bit of that kind of wet leaf, very typical brown spices that you get from Pinot Noir. That soft cherry, strawberry type of fruit. And there's just a little bit of this spiciness that kind of comes forward, and it kind of leans towards spice or floral more than fruity. And I think that's pretty interesting. And I do like that wet, leafy kind of thing that they're pulling off here. And I think it's quite attractive and pretty. Love to hear what you think. Or you could leave me hanging. I have only I only got 12 bottles of this wine. I have about 6 of them remaining. And so it's something pretty special. It's very unique, not very common. I don't think you'll find it anywhere else. I may be the only retailer out there that's got it.
Ian, I love it. I guess when I was in Napa last year, that is when I kind of really first heard about Thomas Rivers Brown. And over the last year, it just seems like the more and more that I research about wines, he's just got a hand in a lot of different projects.
Well, yeah, I mean,
and it's just so cool.
yeah, yeah, he does not mess around. He's really serious, man. He's got brands like Schrader that he takes care of. I'm gonna freeze and forget half the brands.
Well, I visited Alusa winery that kind of was like, a start for him. I know he has a new winemaker there now, but that I was blown away by their wines. And then the other one, he does a label with his wife that they call Rivers Marie. So they use both of their middle names with his wife, which I've been loving his Pinots from there. So yeah, I mean, he knows what he's doing.
He knows what he's doing, right? And he also makes the wines for an up and coming brand called Senses that you're going to hear about, because they're just taking serious ground. And it's basically the children of 3 very important grape growers that never made their own wines. They only sold their grapes, and the kids are growing up and they finally get to a spot where they can afford to make some wine. And they're like, what are we doing? Let's make some wine. And so they hired Thomas Rivers Brown to make the wine for them. And these are seriously cool wines from Senses. So if Thomas Rivers Brown got involved with the brand, and some more brands are coming to mind of what he makes. He makes Black Sears, Zinfandel. He makes
Ashton Estate. That's another one of his.
Yeah, he's a busy man, like Philippe Melka, like Heidi Barrett. they keep their plates, very, very full, and yet have have an ability like a great chef or a great conductor to kind of, be in a lot of different places at the same time, and use a lot of data and chemistry to help them make things correct. So I'm glad I saw some wonderful, Outpost. That's the one I was thinking of, Shirley. Thank you. Yeah, Outpost is one of his producers. And so yeah, his style tends to be a little more like, let's see if we can make it even a little more exciting. Let's not try to be perfect about it, but let's take a little bit of risk and see if we can get a little bit more reward. And that's what I really appreciate about him, is he doesn't just make a Sonoma Coast Pinot Noir, but really kind of finds a way to make it something worth, celebrating and enjoying. And he really leaned into that earthy, leafy, spicy model of Pinot. And I don't think I've tasted many California Pinot based rosés that can achieve that. And there's also a polish to this wine that's pretty extraordinary. And that's also part of his touch, is he just makes the wines seem amazing. Like there's a touch that he has that is the touch of a master.
I love this wine. It really, the finish is kind of like a light strawberry jammy type taste with the kick of the spice. And that's what's lingering for me. But it's very unique. I really like it.
Yeah, I agree. Let's take a look at Learn About Wine. This is my educational website and some of the things that we work to achieve. I've got a phenomenal champagne tasting this weekend. If you're and want to come to Santa Monica, the lineup of wines that we're going to taste at this event, we taste 21 champagne, by the way. They're small pours. We taste them 3 at a time. We taste them blind, and we see what you're going to like. Now, this particular weekend, we're going to do a flight of rosé that is second to none. Starting off with a Florida Miraval, which is made by Pierre Peters, who doesn't make rosé champagne, by the way. He is a legendary white, Blanc de Blanc producer. But Brad Pitt said, "How would you like to make a rosé?" And Pierre Peters said, "Absolutely." And so he makes it for Miraval in champagne, using top fruit. And this wine is, again, it's marketed by some amazing people and with Brad Pitt's support, etc. The price is high, but it's a beautiful wine. I have tasted it. I love it. And I think you will too. We're going to taste it blind next to Cristal Rosé at $700 a bottle, and Gossé's Celebris 2008, which is no slouch, at $220 a bottle. And then we're gonna taste some other wines blind, like Laurent Perrier, Billicart, Tino, Grimalet, Ploy Jacquemart, Delemont, Philippe Gamay, Runart, Corton Tallier. And then we'll taste a really cool non-vintage flight of some of the wines that we may know. And we taste all these blind. We taste them 3 at a time. It's a lot of fun. And 21 champagnes, you're going to make some new friends. And on this particular occasion, it's at my friend's restaurant, which I have been trying to get him to say, let's turn you into the LA's best Eggs Benedict restaurant. He has 7 different Eggs Benedict on his menu now. And we're going to have the caviar Benedict, which is what you're looking at in the picture. It's 2 pieces, eggs, the caviar, all that work is done with tweezers. And they just have a a team of people that can do it really, really well. So if you want one of the last spots, they are there. We've made the price a little lighter to be able to fill that up so that we can pour all 21 champagne. We open 1 bottle per paying guest. So we want to get them all out there and have everybody in the room just loving it. So if you can join us for that, that would be amazing. And then we have the Stars of Napa Valley in Los Angeles this month as well. We're going to be a test restaurant. We've got about 25 different producers coming down from the Napa Valley. Many of the winemakers are going to come down in person, the owners, the executives. They'll be there pouring their wines. We'll have about 65 different wines at this time. We could go up to about 80 by the time the event gets here. And Trey Past apps and a beautiful place. Test will be outside on their big, huge courtyard space. It's going to be a lot of fun. And we have some different ticket types available for that. And then every Wednesday we have our Zooms at Zoom into Wine. So I'll take you on to that and just show you what we have coming. And my team's been working really hard to make these things, a lot of people are done with Zoom. And so we've got to make these Zooms even more exciting, more special, and more unique. And so we've got this fantastic lineup of Sauvignon Blancs coming up. And there's only a couple more spots left for the Sauvignon Blanc one. Then this is the May 10th, but the wines are spectacular. I think you're going to love them. It's right on time. Temperature's warming up. Sauvignon Blanc time, or maybe join me for this kind of crazy white wine lineup where I'm able to taste some things that you might not normally taste. And I really hope that you'll consider doing it with me, because we're going to taste some dry ferment from Hungary. This was a revelation, me being able to taste this wine with the director of the winemaker from Royal Tokai. We're tasting single vineyard ferment. It is so good now. And I used to, 20 years ago, they used to hand me these numbers and say, hey, go sell some ferment from Royal Tokai Company. And I hated the wine. They just did not know how to make it in a style that was really enjoyable. Now they've figured it out. And these wines are super great. They're single vineyard. They're $40. They're beautiful. My friend is a winemaker in Ojai. Used to work for Sinquanon. Waltz in Holland is a brand you're going to hear about eventually. Super tremendous grapes that they're able to get their hands on. And we're going to taste their Melange Blanc. We'll taste this crazy Corsican Moscato. It's done in a really unique style. We'll taste Nicolas Joly Coulis de Sorrent, which is a famous Chenin Blanc, Loire Valley, $140 bottle of Chenin Blanc from the master of biodynamics. And we'll finish up with a Chocolina. And if you've never had a Chocolina from northern Spain, or maybe if you have, maybe you haven't had a great one. This is just unbelievable stuff at $25 a bottle. It's just like, how could you not drink a bottle of this every single week? And, probably because you can't pronounce it, but we'll break it down. We'll make it fun. We'll taste all these wines in a couple of weeks, and it's affordable, fun. Affordable is going to be more important here, as we are all, looking in the face of this economy and what's happening out there. And it's happening to us too. We're seeing the events get a little smaller, the wine sales kind of slowing down a little bit. So we're going to make these things as great as we can. We're keeping them as price sensitive as we can as well. Ultimate dessert wines coming. Paso Robles wines. The wine lineup is amazing. Here's my, I just got back from Sicily, so we're going to spend a little time talking about my trip and looking at some photos and tasting some great wines off of this volcano, which would literally created an earthquake when I was there. And then we got to see some smoke coming out of the top, and no one even cared. They'll live there. That was like, it's going off again. Yep. And we're just like right down the bottom of the hill. We've got this Zinfandel showcase coming up in June, and then pretty special gathering with Adam Tolmec. He is the winemaker at Ojai Vineyards, and he's going to be joining us on a Zoom for just a night with him. He is a legend, and we're going to taste 3 really special wines with him. And we kept the price just super crazy. It's going to be a big show. $20 to get the flight with Adam Tolmec, one of the greats in California. You'll learn his story. He was involved in the advent of Aubin Clement. He's worked with so many great winemakers, and his wines just got huge scores, huge, and they sell out in minutes. So we've been able to secure a supply for a night with Adam, and I'm really excited about that. We'll keep producing the events with your support, and we thank you very much for being here tonight. I hope you enjoyed the Rosé presentation, and use your discount code, because everybody that signed up and got a flight, you get 10% off of anything on the website until tomorrow night at midnight. And that's anything too. You could buy some Rosé, you could buy some champagne, you could buy some dessert wine. It's free delivery in Los Angeles on any order over $100. It is $10 delivery in California on orders over $100. So you want to get to $100 to get that delivery special. And out of state, it sucks. But Natalie, thanks for joining us. Always good to see you. And thanks to all of you guys, Shirley, Rachel, and Katie, thanks very much. Teresa, I know you're back there. We talked earlier. Vanessa, Felix, I am so happy that you made it on the Zoom. Thank you so much for joining us. Setsuko in Japan, always great to have you on the Zoom. I can't wait to get back to Japan. And to all of you, is that Marin? That's not Marin?
It's Lydia at Marin's house. I've got some of my German friends here, and they really liked your German introduction of Rosé #1.
Yeah, Lydia, I am so happy to see you. Was your son able to taste any of the wines tonight?
No, unfortunately, he's watching sports, but we'll catch him. Maybe we'll do the Paso Robles, because that sounds fantastic.
I was wearing my Dodger hat all day. I was able to listen to the game. And didn't know Max Muncy hit a grand slam to win the Dodger game today.
Big sports time of year for sure.
Oof. And how are the Lakers doing? Are we playing right now? We know we won last night.
You know, I took the night off of sports to drink some good wine with you.
Okay.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you. Great to see you again. Say hi to everybody for me.
I will.
Thank you. Well, and it's challenging too with the sports, right? Because you got to kind of pick what you're going to do in this world. There's so many options. But I'm happy that you picked to taste wine with me this evening, and thank you very much, guys. You have a good night, evening, and we'll talk to you soon. Erica, great to see you again. Thank you. Bye, Lydia. Bye, Adam. Bye, all.